And that's what we call the qualitative interview protocol. A good example of interview protocol is what a talk show host has in front of him when he is interviewing a celebrity or whoever. So the interview protocol is just like a set of questions or items that the interviewer will talk to the participant, or in this example, to his guest. Sometimes you can see talk show hosts having something in front of them. These days, more often than not, the interview script is out of sight. It's either on a teleprompter or on some type of portable device that the interviewer can look at. In communication research, we use two kinds of qualitative interview protocols. They're called the semi-structured protocol and the unstructured protocol. And I'm going to show you an example of each. A semi-structured protocol is the most commonly used protocol for qualitative interviewing. It simply is a list of questions and topics that the interviewer will cover with the participant, with the assumption that the interview may go many different directions, that it's not completely, neither the researcher nor the participant are married to that script. So here's an example of the interview protocol that I used when I interviewed a bunch of communication faculty about their research. Actually, one of those interviews appears in this particular course unit, the interview with Dr. Orr. So I had a number of questions. My overall question was, please tell me about a particularly. I asked each of my participants to tell me about the purpose and the research questions of the project, why they found it memorable, what were the methods used to sample the procedures, and so on, how the data was analyzed, and finally, what were the findings and the conclusions. Those were my talking points or questions or items. However, the idea here is that it's semi-structured again. That means if somehow the conversation veers off this path, goes in a slightly different direction that you, the interviewer, find valuable, it's okay to move away from that. In contrast, survey research uses structured protocols. That is a set list of questions called a questionnaire that has to be asked of every single participant in the same way. So that's the difference. In qualitative research, those structured protocols are not used. Finally, we also have the unstructured interview protocol. That is where, when the interviewer has a general direction in mind in which they're going to go with their interview, but they don't really have a list of specific questions they're going to ask or talking points they're going to cover. So in my case, the unstructured protocol for this faculty interview might look something like this. I'm just going to discuss the most memorable research project with them, and it's more like a note to myself what to talk about than a real question. So to summarize, in qualitative research, we use either semi-structured or unstructured interview protocols. Semi-structured being a list of questions and talking points, unstructured being just, it can also be a list, but a very general one of overall things you want to cover, but it is not as detailed and as specific as the semi-structured protocol. In both cases, however, and this is what distinguishes qualitative research from survey research, we can move away from our original plan of the interview, and if we think that it benefits the research study. In contrast, in survey research, in quantitative survey research, the questionnaires that the researcher prepares ahead of time has to be adhered to throughout the research study.